Hey, how's it going? It's your boy Anwar from the Mass Investor. Hope all you guys are doing great. I wanted to share something pretty awesome today. I created a spreadsheet for my own business that I use for my fix and flip properties. And I've tried many other spreadsheets out there that's in the internet, and they're all great. None of them are bad, but I feel like for my business, there was a few things that some had missing. So, some had missing one thing or two things, and I wanted to combine all the things that I liked into one spreadsheet, which led me to create my own spreadsheet. So, I want to share this with you guys, and if this is something you're interested in, there will be a link below in the description to click and then subscribe. And once you subscribe, I will go ahead and then email you the template, and I'm gonna start doing more tips and tricks. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Really appreciate it. If this is of any value to you guys, please. Well, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so this is it. This is the Mass Investor Fix and Flip spreadsheet. And I'm pretty excited about this because it talks about a lot of different components when it comes to fix and flip, and not just like the how much money you're gonna put into it, but also how much money you need from start to finish. And that's important, right? Because when you get into a flip, you want to be able to know exactly how much money you think you're going to put into it, right? Not just how much money you have to come to the closing table. Because when you're doing a fix and flip, you'll need money at the start, at the middle, and at the end. More towards the middle, right? Because you're doing construction, you're hiring subs out, you're hiring contractors, you're picking up materials. So you want to be able to see exactly what you're going to spend. So that's the number one thing that I like about the spreadsheet. So let's get into it from start to finish. So property address, you can put whatever address here, 123 Main Street. And then the purchase price. Let's say the purchase price is, I don't know, $200,000, right? And origination fee, if you have a lender that charges you points, you can just click on this. There's a drop down menu. Whether they charge you no points, you can click 0, 1 point, 2 points, or 3 points, right? Let's go with 2 points. It seems to be like the happy medium. Now, down payment. Some lenders require you to put 10% down. If you click on this, you have the option to put 10% down, 20% down, 30% down, or 40% down, or 0% down if they're financing 100% of the purchase, right? Let's just keep it at 0 for now. So at this point, you're going to be owing $200,000, right? Because you're borrowing 100% of the purchase. Now, construction. Now, I also want to note that this specific spreadsheet is not going to detail construction. That would be for a different video, because construction, it's a whole different animal, whole different ball game when it comes to trying to figure out what line items to put in, the scope of work you need to have your GCs bid on, what to look for, what not to look for. So for this example, we're just going to assume you know exactly what the construction is, and you're just going to put that number into here. So let's say for this particular property over at 123 Main Street, it's going to cost $20,000 for a rehab, right? Loan, we're going to keep that just at 1. By the way, you want to keep any values here that you have empty. You want to keep at 1 if you don't have any numbers. Why? It's just because it's just the way the template is built. So you're borrowing $200,000 at 100%, right? You're not putting anything down. Your construction cost is $20,000, right? And you're being charged 2 points, right? You're being charged 2 points for the principal loan, right? Which is $4,000. Okay. Now, today's date is the 26th, right? If it's a different day, you can just click on this and you select the day that you want. Today's the 26th. Overwrite contents. Yes. Okay. Boom. Now, for loan number 1, which is this one, for the purchase price, loan number 1, the interest rate, let's say your lender will charge you 10.95%. We'll keep it at that, right? And your closing, let's say your closing is going to be, I don't know, if you're buying it today, your closing is going to probably be in 2 weeks. So what you can do here is click on this cell, let's say 2 weeks from the 26th, it's the 10th, right? So on a Monday. Boom. And you click yes, you want to overwrite that date. All of a sudden, it'll calculate starting on July 10th when you close on the property, assuming you close, it'll start calculating interest. Now, when you're assessing the property, if you're going to be putting $20,000 worth of work, that's generally like a very, very cleanup job, like a small rehab, which means that duration of the flip is probably going to be around 3 months. But then again, everyone's different. But you can decide how many months you want to be in and out of the property. So this calculates from the time that you close on the property for the first time, during the construction process, all the way up until you sell the property, right? So let's just assume that this property is going to take you 4 months, right? So what you do is you click on the sell, click on this button, there's a drop down menu, and you can go up to 48 months. So let's just assume it's going to take us 4 months from start to finish, right? Boom. So now we already chose our closing date, which is the start date right here. And then already it's going to calculate exactly your monthly interest payment, which is going to be $18.25. Now, most lenders, I want to say 99.9% of lenders are only going to be interest only payments. So all this calculations is based on interest only. There's no principal paid down unless you're making principal payments, which in my experience, not everyone makes principal payments when they're trying to flip a property as fast as possible, right? All right. So, and then also for the construction, right? Construction costs, they're going to be lending you money for the construction. So you want to also have a start date for that one. I would just go ahead with the same closing date as the original loan. So I would just go to July 10th, hit override, yes, automatically change, right? This one below, don't worry about. This is attached to the loan number 3, which is up here. So you don't have to worry about that. So right now, you're gonna, for 4 months that you own the property, you're gonna incur $7,300 of interest for your purchase price, and roughly around $800 additional for your construction costs, right? Now, if you go all the way to the right, you're at closing table, right? If you haven't paid any principal down or any interest down, you're gonna owe $207,300 for just the principal and interest. And you got the construction as well. If you borrow 20% or $20,000 worth of construction, and if you haven't paid them back, then you're going to owe $20,800 worth of interest and construction costs, right? This is a total amount that you're borrowing. Okay. Now let's say, so now you're going to have 2 closes, right? The first one is going to be your first closing when you're buying the property, right? So you're not going to be paying any commissions because sellers pay for commissions if there is any commissions attached to the property. So that's going to be 0, right? Unless for some reason you decided to pay for the seller's commissions for some weird reason, then you can add this here if you wanted to. There's an option. Origination fee. We just have it up here where you're paying 2 points out of 200,000 is $4,000. So it's already calculated into here. This is the lender servicing fee. This is kind of like your application, I think, or more of when you say to your hard money lender, okay, I want to fund this deal, then they usually charge you a fee to start the process. That could be anywhere between $500, $1,000. So you can change that number here. Let's just say it's 500. Boom, right? Smoke cert, you don't have to worry about that because in Massachusetts, the sale takes care of that. Unless you want to take care of it. Again, this is all negotiable. You can include that there. Property taxes, this is all gets prorated. Usually the seller takes care of all the taxes up to the time that you're closing. If she's already paid for the whole year and you're closing it already halfway into the year, then it'll get prorated and you'll have to pay the seller back at closing. And we'll talk about that within the second closing. Recording fees, this is, to record your deed and everything. It's usually around $150. Discharges, you're not discharging any paperwork, or you're not recording any paperwork to discharge because you're just buying it. You're not selling it yet. Attorney fees, again, let's say this is an attorney that's going to charge you just to help you write up the P&S, make sure that the property is clean, the title is clean, marketable, and insurable. So with depending on the charge, you can change it here. Let's say it's $1,500. Not 15,000, 1,500. Okay. Property insurance. Again, you have to pay for this at closing. If usually all hard money lenders require it. So you want to put that there. Let's say it's 2,000. Title insurance. Now this you don't really mess with because this is already built in calculated based on the purchase price right here. So it'll automatically populate how much the title insurance is going to be based on Massachusetts numbers. Again, this can also work out nationally. This is kind of the ballpark number that title insurance people charge. So you don't have to worry about this number. Transfer stamp, you also don't have to worry about that because the seller pays for that. But then again, if you want to help your seller out and you want to say, okay, listen, you know what, I'll go half with the tax transfer stamp. So you can pay half of it. Let's just say it's $600, right? Boom. So now your closing costs for when you're buying the property is going to be $9,655, right? Okay. Now this is where it gets fun, right? Because now I know that in order for me to buy this property, right, I need to come up with $9,000 and $9,655. Also, before I forget as well, you want to add your taxes here. And if your taxes are, $5,000, you want to add that there. Holding costs, that's also important. So if you're only holding it for 4 months and it's in the summertime, then you only have to worry about electricity, maybe a water bill, sewer bill. So within I would average 4 months, average that out by maybe 500 a month. So that's 5,000. So let's just say $2,000 a month for this particular property because it's the summer months, right? Holding costs. Now, so this is where it gets interesting. So for me to be able to buy this property and get loans for this particular property, I'll have to make sure that in my own bank account, I have $9,000, $9,655 to close on this property, right? Just to actually buy it, to own it. Now we'll take a step further than that. Total capital needed, from the time that I bought the property all the way during the property till I'm selling it, I'm going to need $19,755, right, in the bank, reserve, just specifically for this property, right? Now, why is this important, right? Because you want to know exactly how much you need, not just for the purchase, but you need to know how much money you need when you're purchasing and during the process of when you're purchasing it, right? Because you don't want to be strapped for capital. Let's say you have a contractor or you have your lender. He's giving you a bill and you don't have money to pay for it because you didn't calculate how much you needed, in the third month going into it, right? Because you have to pay for this particular loan $1,825 a month. So what this does is it calculates your interest payments. It calculates your closing costs in the beginning, right? It calculates your taxes, so you have to pay taxes unless you paid for them in advance, in your first closing. And it also calculates your holding costs, because you have soft costs. You have, like I said, the electric bill, the water bill, the sewer bill, and in the winter times you have the heat bill. That can be very expensive if it's really cold in the winter, which it does, right? And you got plowing, you got snow removal services. You want to calculate all those holding costs into this figure. So what this does, this calculates every single digit when it comes to funding a property, right? And this is where a lot of the spreadsheets that I come across, and they don't really tell exactly how much money or much capital you need based on your digits here, based on your financing, right? So for this example, um, let's say the ARV was, I don't know, $300,000, right? Okay, so the total project cost for this property from start to finish is $256,000, right? This calculates your interest, calculates your principal, but what it also calculates is your closing costs number two, right? So when you sell the place, you have to sell the property, right? So what this does here is it calculates, okay, how much is an agent going to charge you when you sell the place? You know, if it is it going to be 4.5, 4, 2.5, 2%, 6%, or zero? You know, you can just sell it off market to someone, right? To a family member or something. But you know, if you're hiring an agent, they'll typically charge you 5 or 6% or whatever that case may be. You can input that here. Or let's say you're an agent slash investor, and you know you don't have to uh, pay 4% or above that. You can just pay the half of it, which is 2.5%. You know, you'll save a ton of money. So let's say you're an agent and you're only paying 2.5%. That's $7,500, right? Origination fee. There's no need. There's you've already paid for that at the closing. Uh, Lending service. You also don't have to pay for this unless they have junk fees. Some lenders have junk fees, so you can input that here. Smoke certificate, you have to get a certificate from the fire department. That's usually around $100. Property taxes, this calculates exactly how much taxes you'll be paying from the time that you close on the property and how much the taxes are for the year. So if you only held it for 4 months, you're only going to be paying roughly $1,600 for taxes. All right. Let's see what else. So recording fees, $590. This is just to record um, everything when it comes to your deed and stuff like that. Discharges. This is a discharge. You have to have your attorney record for your lender. Just that ensures that you're already paid. You paid them back, so you don't have to go back after you. Closing fee. This is your attorney again. Your closing fee for the attorney. You can change that, whatever number that is. Property insurance, if you haven't paid anything, or if you have, you don't have to worry about that. Title insurance, you don't have to worry about that because you've already paid for it. Transfer stamp. So this has already been calculated. You don't have to put anything here because this is also based on your purchase price, which is up here. So whatever your purchase price is, it'll automatically calculate this, so you don't have to mess with this formula right here. So total closing costs at the end for closing number two is going to be $12,934.67, right? Okay. So what that means is that the total project cost is $250,000. So going into your flip that you're looking at, you already know exactly how much money you're going to need up front. You know, this one to buy it, and you know exactly how much money you're going to need during it, right here, right as you start fixing flipping it, and you're also going to know exactly how much you're going to pay when you sell it, right? And then this number here combines all the expenses you're going to have to incur when you sell the place, right? So if we sell it for $300,000, our net profit, before taxes, is $47,309.30, which means our return on this investment is 19.67%. I would say that's a pretty good deal, right? So this is how you calculate a property really fast when you come to deciding whether it's a good deal or not, right? Now let's go a little bit different. This is something that I've created for myself as well, and I think for other people that use other people's money to flip properties and still get hard money loans, right? So now let's do another scenario, right? Let's say the same property. Let's just say, I don't know, 245. I don't know, Boston, Mass. Oops, Boston, Mass. And you're already flipping the other property, but you got another opportunity coming in, right? So let's say this particular property costs $400,000, right? And it's going to take, I don't know, $50,000 worth of work, right? At that point, let's say your lender says, you know what? you got to put down 10%, right? So you got here, and you got to know you got to put down 10%, which means you got to already commit to $40,000 at closing cost at the closing table without even closing costs, right? Construction is 50,000, right? So now let's say you don't have the $40,000, right? And you need to get a loan for that $40,000, right? So the other loans feature here is where you can put in that other loan. Let's say you have another private lender. He says, you know what? I'll lend you the $40,000 for your loan in return for some interest, right? So you can say, okay, great. So you go ahead right here and you put in $40,000, right, for the property. I'm sorry, not 40,000. $40,000 to help you fund the property, right? Now, even though it says here 10% you're putting down, but really your borrowing is the $40,000. At this point here, you have to know the system. You have to work the system or this specific spreadsheet, right? So what you have to do at this point is what's 40,000 minus $400,000. I'm sorry, what's 10% minus $400,000? And that's $40,000, right? So what's 40 minus 400,000? That's $360,000, right? So what we want to do at this point is take away the 10% here, go to 0, and change this to $360,000, right? Why? Because this loan right here is going to cover your 10% loan up here. So your loan is going to be $360,000 out of that $400,000 purchase price. This is just the way I calculate my spreadsheet here. So at this point, we have 3 loans, right? The purchase price, the construction cost, and the other loan, right? So let's say the loan number 1 is 12%, or I'm sorry, let's just keep it simple, 10%. 10% also for the construction, and then let's say for the private money lender, let's say it's 13%, right? We'll keep the starting dates the same. We'll keep the flip number the same, or the months that we're going to flip this property. Let's say they're going to charge us just 1 point for the main lender. And what this does, it calculates your interest you're going to incur for each loan, right? Now let's change our ARV. Let's say if we're paying 400,000, let's say we're assuming the property is probably going to be worth, based on our analysis, let's say $650,000. Right? Okay. So closing costs when you're buying it, same thing. You're just paying for any origination fees. All these closing costs come into calculation. Let's say it's $9,000, right? So now, when you're buying it, you're going to need $9,000, right, in your bank account. But this time, you're actually borrowing $40,000, right? And it's an interest-only loan. So at this point, that $40,000 is going to cover your $9,000. And you're going to need roughly $25,000. Well, let's say the taxes on this one are a little bit more. Let's say they're $8,000. At this point, your taxes and closing costs and holding costs, let's say it's $3,000, right? All this stuff combined is you're going to need $26,000 in the bank, right? But you're not going to need it in the bank because you've already borrowed $40,000, right? So the total amount that you're going to owe, including interest and principal, is $465,000, $587.78, right? Why? Because you're borrowing 100% of the money plus more to cover your expenses and bills and stuff like that when it comes to the specific flip property. So the total project is going to cost you almost $500,000, as you can see right here. If you sell it for $650,000, your net profit is going to be $147,000. Your return on investment is 30%. Okay, So that's the cool thing about this three types of loans is that you can, work with these and change the values here, and work with them, work with the down payment, work with the origination fees, work with the times changing, you know. Let's say during the process, let's say, it's 4 months, you're closing on. So this actually populates too as well, the closing date. So depending on what date you choose, let's say it's going to take you 7 months, it'll auto populate when your closing date will be when you sell it, right? So let's say it's going to take you 7 months to flip this property, right? Let's say you got your purchase price already committed. You started 710, but then let's say you didn't get the construction loan till maybe, October of this year, right? Well, let's just go January, right, of next year, because you're closing on February of next year. Let's just say January of next year, right? So let's say you borrow it. The construction cost, as you can see right here, is $2,916 if you borrow it right at the start of the loan. But if you just borrow it 1 month before your closing, hit OK, then you're only going to owe $541 in interest, right? Which is pretty sweet because you're not if you're not using the money while borrowing it, right? You're only using it when you need it. So this is how you can kind of mess with the dates and interest to know exactly how much interest you're going to be paying. So that's a pretty cool feature. All right. If I miss out on anything, or if you guys have any questions about this particular spreadsheet, let me know in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to answer them. And if you want the spreadsheet, I'll put a link in the description to subscribe. I'll email to you right away. And if you like it, again, like and subscribe. Any questions, let me know. I also will put the link tree to reach me anywhere in all my platforms. If you have any questions when it comes to wholesaling, fix and flipping, or how to do virtual wholesaling, because that's what I do. I just finished one in Michigan, and I'm going to do a kind of a run through on that as well on YouTube. All right, guys. Well, God bless you. Take care. God bless.